It's been a few days since the Simpsons season dropped, and it's definitely had an impact on the EU. I want to talk about how MrSavage has been doing with Japko, the new duos and squads that are forming, as well as talking about the first set lobby tournament of the season. Let's get straight into it. So let's start off by discussing Tuesday's Evaluation Cup. Obviously this took place before the meta changes to fishing, which I'll discuss later. For now I want to talk about the 4 teams that managed wins in the finals. Sky and Scroll took the victory royale in game 1. They also managed to win opens. A very impressive performance from them. They have such good chemistry. Since they've reunited, they've been playing so well together. Having dropped Scroll twice already this year, only to underperform with his subsequent teammates, I think Sky has probably learnt his lesson, and I imagine we'll see these guys sticking for the whole of 2026. Game 2 was won by the Romanian duo of Milan and Turtle. Definitely not a team that I expected to be doing this well, so fair play to them. And then game 3 was won by the Czech duo of Hutty and Fishy X. Now these guys were doing well straight after Globals. Their performances have slowed a bit in recent weeks, but Tuesday was a good day for them. Game 4 was won by the Russian duo of Ivan and Craig. They also managed to come 4th in the Opens, so it was a good tournament for them. We had a lot of big name teams not qualify. I can't go over all of them in this video, but I'll talk about some of the main ones. Vanya and Swizzy didn't make finals, more of them later. We also had Veno and Chino, Chap and Flixie, Vico and Malibuka, and Shark and Teeny all failed to qualify. Now let's discuss which EU teams did well in the NA Central Evaluation Cup. Now unfortunately, due to a queuing bug, the finals for this event didn't happen, but we did still have the Opens round, and that ended up being won by an EU team. Nathan and Axeforce managed to place first in Opens. This is quite impressive considering that neither of these two players have been that great in EU this year, so the fact that they're able to do this on NA Central on high ping, very impressive. It's unfortunate that the finals weren't played, as we didn't get to see them capitalise on their great performance with a game win. I'll run through the EU teams that placed in the top 40 and would have qualified to finals had they happened. We have the Italian duo of Ricky and Zangi. We also had Cringe and Moneymaker, Verza and Nosy, the UK duo. We had the Polish team of Adrix and Sands, Tiddy and Skavi, Cade and Pixmister, and lastly Scroll and Zany. Now with the Evaluation Cups out of the way, let's discuss some of the new teams on the region. Savage and Japko formed quite recently, but they've been looking very good during the Simpsons season. As we expected, Savage is the IGL, he mostly leads, whilst Japko is more of a traditional fragger. However, during the late game, the roles become quite fluid. We often see Japko leading rotates instead of Savage. This fluidity is what I think makes them such a good duo. Japko is also very calm. There's definitely a bit of a contradiction between him and Savage's previous teammates of Reason and Chap. Japko is definitely more relaxed and measured, whilst Reason and Chap were more explosive, which I'm not saying is a negative by the way. Reason's ability to clutch end games are incredible, and Chap is such a great fragger, but they aren't the same type of player as Japko. I said in my previous video that I felt like Japko was the best possible teammate for Savage in terms of who he could attract. I think their potential is very high. I could see them doing really well in 2026. They've already managed to win a game of scrims. They looked good in the Evaluation Cup Opens. I think we're going to see a lot more from them this season. Let's go over some other team updates. We had Swizzy split with Vanya, but don't worry, it looks like it's just going to be for this season. They have been underperforming since they got back together after Globals. They haven't really had too many good placements, so it looks like they're going to be taking a bit of a break from each other this season. We don't know yet who Vanya is going to be playing with, nor do we know who Swizzy will play with. We'll have to wait and see for that. Despite their underperformances over the last month or two, I do still think that in 2026, Vanya and Swizzy will be a team to watch out for. Their quality is too good to ignore. We've also seen another big duo split. Pixie and Wox obviously aren't playing together anymore. Pixie ended up playing the Eval Cup with Pablo Wingu, whilst Wox played with his compatriot Roban. I don't know if either of these are actually long-term duos. Obviously Pablo Wingu might go back and play with Fredoxy, whilst I think Rox is probably just playing with Roban for a bit of fun. We'll have to wait and see on that. One new duo that could stick is Panzer and Murstache. Obviously before we had Tayson and Murstache. Tayson for whatever reason didn't get on for the Eval Cup, so Murstache played with Panzer, but they looked very good. And in all honesty, I don't see why this duo shouldn't be a real thing for 2026. Now, as I've said many times before, I do think that Queasy and Murstache probably is the endgame duo. Once Queasy gets back from NA Central, I could see that as the best option. However, if that doesn't happen, I think Panzer and Murstache makes a lot of sense. They would have serious potential. And in terms of Tayson's options, I'm not too sure who he'll play with. There's some good Balkan players out there, maybe a Haris or a Skavi, we'll have to see. We also had Darm playing with Demus. It does feel like all the Polish players players are just spinning a roulette wheel every week to decide who they play with. I feel like I've seen this duo already about 3 times, but that's what we're stuck on for now. We'll have to wait and see if that sticks. We also had CZB playing with Eclipse, whilst Twy played with Dexy. I also want to discuss the rumours surrounding which players are going to be squadding up together. Now obviously we only have a few squads tournaments this season, and they're Victory Cup formats, so I don't think pros are going to be taking them too seriously. Because of that, I imagine a lot of squads will be decided on the day. I don't think pros are thinking too heavily about who they're going to be playing with. We have seen some squad scrims, however, so I'll read out to you some of the interesting teams from that. We had the Italian team of Rax, Gabix, Sabari and Alizi win a squad session on Monday, and then we had this team win a session yesterday, except Gabix was swapped out for Darky. These guys clearly looking good in the Simpsons season. I'll run over some of the other squads of interest. We saw Savage and Japko squad up with Scroll and Zany. However, there are rumours that the real squad will be Savage, Japko, Panzer and Seti. Obviously Japko played with Panzer and Seti at Globals. Savage has huge experience with Panzer, so that's a team that makes a lot of sense. Mongrel and Mixon squadded up with Giras and Franek. Nice to see Mongrel being adopted as an honorary Polish player. We then had Venno, iDrop, Pixie and Zarbi play a session of scrims. We had the full Danish squad of Fridoxy, Refsgard, Anas and Sangild. We had the CIS team of Howley, Dandapuzo, Palochka and Toos. We had the UK team of Velo, King Cringe, X-Ray and Twy. And we had another CIS team, As It Go, iFrozy, Halekis and Hizix. As I mentioned before, we don't know if these squads are going to be real. Obviously players will just queue up with whoever they want on the day, but I just thought it was interesting to see which names were playing with each other, seeing as we haven't had squads tournaments in a while. Now before I end the video, let's talk about the meta changes. So prior to the Eval Cup, the meta was fishing. Blinky fish are the main movement item this season. They give you the dash effect from Grimgate, and prior to the update, they could be caught from outside of fishing holes. This meant that what players were doing is they were boxing up around rivers or on the edge of the map and simply just fishing for minutes on end, trying to catch as many blinky fish as they could. This has since changed. Blinky fish can now only be caught from fishing holes, and since there's a high concentration of these on the east side of the map, there's a clear advantage to players that land in that area. It will be interesting to see how players react to this. Obviously we're now in a low movement meta. I do suspect that the loot pool could change a little bit in the coming days. Maybe Epic has a new item, potentially that could be some movement, who knows. But for now, expect to see the best teams landing on the east half of the map. Let me know your guys' thoughts on what I discussed in this video. Do you think Savage and Japko will be a good duo? Who do you think is performing well in the Simpsons season? I want to hear what you guys think. Thank you very much for watching the video. See you in the next one.